Hi, and welcome to 15 Minutes of Consulting Best Practices. I'm David A. Fields. I'm joined by my colleague, Carol Williams. Good morning, Carol.
Good morning, David.
I suppose it's afternoon where we are, so good afternoon. So, all right. For those of you who forgot how we do this on our 1 week off, format's really straightforward. You ask us questions. You try to stump Carol and me, and we will do our best to give you answers that will help you build the practice that you dream of having. So happy Monday, John and Tom and Michael and someone else. Go ahead and submit questions. I can see some coming in. So Brad, we will get to that. I think there was something that was just submitted in advance or posted. Is that right, Carol?
That is correct. We've got a couple questions already added in on LinkedIn.
Okay, what's this one say?
Yeah, so Anwin has submitted the question, how do you know when a consulting firm has outgrown its pricing model but not its delivery model? That gap when we could charge more and we could deliver more is where most firms between 10 and 30 people quietly stall. David, what do you think?
I'm parsing what this means. And so let me actually address the second part, which is this is where this gap between we could charge more, or it sounds like, or we could scale up capacity is where firms stall. I don't think that's been our experience. That decision between increasing fees and adding capacity is not where most small firms stall. And we've worked with scores of firms in that size range. But despite that, I think it's an interesting question, which is when do you take price and when do you increase fees? And I'm also not sure. I think that might be a false binary choice, because I think you could possibly do both. So here's my initial thinking, Carol. Then you'll chime in. Tell me if you go someplace else with this.
Okay.
I would look at margins. So are your gross margins good? And if your gross margins are good and you can increase capacity, you've got the wherewithal to bring on more capacity, I would probably increase capacity. That's where I would turn to first. If you're, on the other hand, if either the margins aren't great, you need to take price, or if delivery capacity is extremely hard to bring online, if it takes, for instance, a year to bring on delivery capacity and you're maxed out, then bringing up your fees and increasing your margin while you're bringing online capacity makes a lot of sense. And then ultimately you have both. You've raised fees and you increase capacity, which we've done with countless clients. We've done both. So maybe I'm reading this wrong. Carol, agree, disagree? Am I like off in a wrong direction?
No, I completely agree with you. Delivery is separate from pricing. You don't have to change your pricing model, have to make that choice between them. It's one or both. There's no binary. I totally agree with you on that one.
Okay, cool. All right, good. So, Enwin, if you're here, let us know whether we answered the right question, because I some trouble parsing exactly what you meant, because I don't see the distinction that you pointed out. So just let us know. Was there another one that also we have to get that was already teed up that we have to get to? I don't know the answer to that. All right.
Yeah.
Jaron, if there is, let us know that, or if not, we'll read what Brad submitted. No, we don't have to. Okay. I'm seeing a shaking head in the background in the control room. All right, Carol, I'll read what Brad wrote. Okay. And then you get to, we'll see whether we can stump Carol. A former client reached out to me after I published an article about AI capability pricing. Okay, we had 2 constructive conversations. He and his co-founder expressed strong interest in the specific capabilities, a core need for a new business they were developing. Okay, great. As per our discussion, I sent them a proposal, with a retainer structure with a very modest baseline. The response was, as a self-funded startup, we are not in a position to engage in this level right now. Let's go. Oh, I don't have the rest of your question. It got cut off there, Brad. So I don't know what your question is, but I'm happy to comment on your process so far. What do you think, Carol? So we didn't get the rest of the question, Brad. We just got through the scope and. So let us know what the rest of the question is. And good morning, Michael. But Carol, what do you think of his process so far?
So I'm glad that you had a really good conversation, the question becomes the discovery process with the two co-founders. So it sounds like you focused on scope, but did you go all the way through and asking about fee tolerance? Because the fee tolerance would have given you the clues around how much do they expect to pay, as well as at what point, the famous question that we like to prompt everybody, which is, at what point would you have a heart attack if you saw this
Right.
price on a proposal, right? We don't want to give our clients quite heart attacks, because we do want them to be in good health to be able to say yes to a proposal. But um, I always like to ask the question, at what point would you fall out of your chair? Because people literally start laughing when I ask that, because they envision themselves falling out of a chair. It works really well. So, but that question would give you that answer so that you could avoid that response that you got from your prospect. There's another component to it, which is, did you give them options at different price points where they get to choose at what level do they engage with you? And maybe it's a very small fee in the beginning, but that's what they can charge. That's totally up to you. But there's two different pieces there, levers that could have helped the situation. David, what do you think? Anything to add?
Yeah, well, and
Challenge
I'll
me
read the rest
on?
of Brad's message here. The the but yes, I'm also wondering, Brad, whether you actually got agreement to the context before you went to proposal, or
Yes.
whether you rushed right to proposal. And so I agree with you, Carol, that there is it's not clear from what you said, Brad, whether you did a full context discussion and then you summarized it and said, do we have this all right? And you asked for those parameters. Well, let's see what he said. As a self-funded startup, we're not in position to engage at this level right now. Scope and value are clear. Simply a matter of where we are in our journey. We'd like to keep the door open. Once we close our next round, we'll reach out. So what's the recommendation for next steps? So they've said, yeah, we love what you're doing. We just can't afford it right now. We're a startup. Carol, what should Brad do?
I believe go back to them and say, okay, so it sounds like timing is the issue based on the fee and the proposal that we already submitted. How can we engage now? Let's talk about what you need in this moment so that we can figure out a potential way of working together now. Always happy to engage with you at that specific level when you need it after you close the next round of funding. So it can definitely be a two-phased piece of work. David?
Yeah, I like that. Now, frankly, I wouldn't have gone there. So I like what you did better. I probably would have just said, great, next step is let's make sure we stay in touch. And as you go along your journey, partly because what we've seen with a lot of our clients that focus on startups is startups don't have money, and you don't want to compromise the minimum threshold of the project that you'll take on. But Carol, I really like what you said, actually better than where I would have gone instinctively, which is to explore, well, what would work for you now?
Yeah.
And see whether you can make that work or not. So yeah, that's good. All right, there was
All right,
another one
Bradley,
here.
go forth and conquer. You have action items now. So good luck on that.
Exactly right. All right, you want to read Michael's, and then I'll see if I can answer it.
All right, Stump David time. Okay, quick question. What are your follow-up standards with either a potential client or a consulting company, and how frequent to take next steps? Second, so there's actually multiple questions in here. The secondly, to the question another person just posed, I'm assuming, should we have different pricing models depending on the type of requirements, implementations, transformations, process change, or change management, project management, etc.? So it
All
sounds
right.
like the second question is more related to the
Well, so I'll take these in order. What are follow-up standards with either potential client or consulting company? How? So I have to make some assumptions in here, Michael. So you'll let us know. So like, in what situation? So if you've reached out with a potential client, have you talked with them about a specific project? If so, if you're in the middle of context discussion, or you've already submitted a proposal, you should have that next date and time to talk with them on the calendar. And so that follow-up date should be set. And if you get ghosted or if they miss that, we have a whole ghosting sequence which you can look up. We talked about it a bunch of times on here. So now, if they're not an active prospect but they're just a contact, then reaching out to them as infrequently as every 6 months is okay, and as frequently as every couple of months is okay. Again, ideally, when you talked with them last time and you said if it's just sort of a relationship building and you had a good conversation, you said you want to keep chatting, and they'll say yes. When do you think we should talk next? It's July now. Do you want to talk maybe towards the end of the year? Or sometimes we have someone I'm talking to, no, not today, tomorrow. I ask a question. They're like, yeah, let's talk in 3 weeks. I think we want to maybe work with you. So, okay, 3 weeks sounds great. Okay, let them drive the cadence, or you can suggest it and then see where they come back. But I'm not sure if I answered your question, Michael. So you'll let me know. Assuming we should have different pricing models depending on the type of requirements. I'm not sure what you mean by models in this case. So Carol, you might bail me out on this. You have your approach to pricing is, or our suggestion is, you price based on what we call stakes in the sand. There are a number of factors you consider. What is the client's fee tolerance? What is your cost to deliver? What's the urgency? How much competition is there? There's all these different factors that inform your fee for a specific engagement. So that approach remains constant. What those stakes in the sand, where they'll turn out, will look different for different types of engagements. And an advisory engagement, that does have typically a different contract structure, but the fees, the stakes in the sand, are pretty much the same. So there are different contract structures that are appropriate for different types of engagements. That is absolutely the case. Advisory engagements versus project engagements. And I'm not sure if, again, that's what you're saying. Carol, bail me out.
I think he might be referring to Brad's question, where he was actually going to be consulting with the client on an AI capacity capability model for pricing. So that was a client engagement related to a pricing model, not necessarily a pricing model for a consulting firm. There may have been.
Is that right? Michael, let us know whether we have we have it right or not. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. Michael did also clarify about the first question, in that they've already made contact and have talked about a specific project, but they were not quite ready yet.
Yeah, got it. Perfect. So you've talked about a specific project. They're not ready to move forward. I assume in that conversation you asked, how will you know when you're ready to move forward? So what's the trigger? Sometimes clients haven't thought about that, and forcing them to think that through can be very helpful. How will you know that it's time to move forward? And then when would be a good time to check in? Ask them, and they will let you know. Usually it's sooner than you'd think. They might say, let's check in a month, or let's check in 3 months. And you say, great, perfect. Let's get it on the calendar. Because you're in conversation with them, you can have that next date and time established, and you can have it established in a way that fits what they're looking for. Agree, Carol? Disagree?
Completely agree. Asking them the next time to talk is the best way to go. That way you're not making false assumptions about the timing of their work that they need you for. Michael also clarified that it was the advisory versus project on the pricing model that he was looking for. So
so contract structures, maybe pricing models, if you will, contract structures can look different for advisory engagements versus project engagements. And that's, so that one I would have a difference.
Okay.
And we typically would advise against combining those types of engagements because they have different pricing structures.
Yeah. And scope gets to be very tricky. Scope management.
Exactly right.
Also gets to be tricky.
So
Michael,
go ahead, Carol.
More clarification. Sorry, David. Michael's saying, how do you know what the trigger is?
Well, that's what you asked them.
Right.
You ask the client, what's the trigger? And that is our trigger for saying, oh my gosh, we've used up 15 minutes because you asked a bunch of great questions. Thank you for asking smart questions. Thank you for making us think hard and spending 15 minutes with Carol and with me. 3 quick notes. One, if you haven't already, make sure you're connected with Carol and you're connected with me on LinkedIn. And Jaren has given you the links below. And second is, if you don't receive our articles every week, then you should subscribe, because not only will you hear about the article, if we're doing something special, and we've got some special things coming up, you'll hear about those too. And finally, make sure you're in with the cool kids and have Monday Live on your calendar as a recurring appointment. Just put it there on at a little after 12 Eastern on Mondays, and you'll get to join us. And there we go. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have a fabulous week. Remember, as always, consulting is about them. It's about your clients. It's about your prospects. So just give them value and give them kindness. And we will see you next Monday. Take care, all.
Bye, guys.